One of the scariest times of my adult life that I could actually laugh about is years ago in my first youth ministry. Me and some college age guys were going through the woods to check out this old abandoned house. We were walking through the middle of it, the floorboards were rotted out and all this kind of crazy stuff, and it was dark and scary. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden I'm the last in line, so I'm freaking out about what's behind me or what might be coming up behind me. And all of a sudden something flies up my body, just and goes up in front of my face, and it's like my first thought is bat, and it's like vampire bat, and I'm just freaking out. And then we get the light shined on it, and it's a bird. But we were just dying laughing because I was just screaming like a little kid. But it was just terrifying, but then we just hilarious all in the same thing. But when we're really scared in life, it's not always funny.
So not all times of fear turn into a funny story like that one. There's a lot of times where in our lives that it's very serious, the fear that we go through. One of the times that Bobby and I went through a lot of fear was back in our ministry in Plymouth. We were at Plymouth Church of Christ. It was a great ministry, wonderful church family. Thought we would be there for years till we retired. And Bobby was preaching a sermon series about faith and stepping out in your faith. And he was saying that following Jesus requires faith, and faith requires fear. And he talked a lot about Peter stepping out of the boat and how scary that was for him to step out into the storm to show his faith that he was following Jesus. And we realized that we weren't really doing anything that was pushing our faith. He was preaching and leading music, and I was teaching kids and teaching women, and it's the things that we've always done. And for years, God has put on Bobby's heart to start a church, and it dawned on us that this was our stepping out of the boat. And for me, it was terrifying. My first response when he came and told me that he wanted to go and do this and plant a church in Nightdale was no, absolutely not. We had 4 kids at the time. I didn't want to uproot them all and move and leave a wonderful church family. It was just no. But over a lot of weeks of prayer, God changed my heart and mind that this was the thing to do. As scary as it was, as much as we felt like we would be standing on the edge of a cliff, that this was the thing to go and do to stretch our faith.
After we moved to Nightdale, we had spent a year doing a residency with a church to kind of learn the ropes of new church life. And we were starting to do fundraising, and it was going well. But then we had some friends come and visit us. And these friends had been through, it was a living hell really for the past few years. They had had one catastrophe after another happen to them. It's just this crazy thing. And these great people just weathered through it as best they could, just kept their faith and focused on Jesus, and never had a really negative attitude. At least nobody ever saw it. And so they came by to visit us while we're in Nightdale. We had just gotten our official church name, Movement Christian Church, legally set up. Our bank account was set up. And they said, we want to give you guys a gift. We want to the new banking account for the church. And we're like, awesome, that's so cool. And so they wrote a check, and they folded it up, and they handed it to us. And we went to see them out as they were leaving. And one of my sons opened it up, actually, and his jaw hit the floor. And he handed me the check, and my jaw hit the floor, and almost my whole body hit the floor. It was $15,000. They had sold some property, even with all those horrible things going on to them and all the debt they incurred because of that. They gave first and in a crazy faith-filled 17 stuff way. $15,000. It just blew my mind. And it was like God was saying, I got you. I've been here all along. I was here before you, and I'm taking care of everything. But you know what? We didn't get that kind of crazy, miraculous, God-sized gift until we moved to Nightdale. It didn't come before to push us out of the boat. We had to step out in faith, and then God showed up in a crazy, powerful, mighty way.
It may be scary for you to think about giving a large sum of money for a challenge, or for giving an increase in your consistent giving weekly or monthly. That can be a very scary thing because you don't know what the future holds. But something we've learned and something we've seen is here at Movement, we do the 17% stuff. Bobby's talked a lot about over the past few months and in his sermons, the 17% stuff, referring to the 12 spies who went into Canaan. And those spies went in, and only 2 came out. 17% of what went in, 2 came out praising God, saying, yeah, we can do this. We can take this land. The other 10 were terrified and did not want to act out on faith, did not want to follow God into that land. We want to do 17% stuff like those 2 spies did. And we want to step out on faith even in the face of fear.
One of the things we've learned from Scripture and from just our lives and the life of Movement Church is that God shows up big when we move. He wants us to take a leap of faith. He wants us to get out of the boat, and then he shows up in ways we could never even have dreamed or imagined. This week, as a church family, we are moving in 2 big ways. As we get ready to hopefully purchase a building, or maybe who knows what God has in store. We know that we need to be prepared to have a more permanent home for Movement Church. But as we prepare this Sunday, we're going to do 2 big faith-filled moves. We're going to have a one-time love offering that we're going to ask everybody to give generously above and beyond what you normally give to Movement. And we've set a goal of $20,000. We believe that God's going to bless us, and we're going to do even more than that, but that's where we're starting. And so we're asking you to prayerfully consider what you can do to be a part of that offering. But we're also taking an opportunity to move in another big way. It takes consistent, faithful giving and faithful following of Jesus to really see his blessings day in and day out. So we're asking everybody to commit to taking another step of obedience and faith in giving to Jesus. So we're going to ask you to commit to increase giving each week and each month, or however you give, so that we can move God's kingdom forward here through Movement Church. And we're excited to see all he's going to do, because when we move, God shows up. So this Sunday, let's all come together and let's do 17 stuff and watch God show up. Thank you, guys.